The next topic is learning new exercises and learning the correct form. So always keep your form clean. As a personal trainer, I always get my clients learning the form on a relatively low weight first and just perfecting it so that even though the weight is increasing, the form is staying the same. We don't do ego lifting. I can understand if you're doing a 1 rep max or you're trying to see how much you can lift every now and then your form is always going to deteriorate a tiny bit within reason, which is fine. But if you're doing reps of 8, 10, 12, 15, there's no reason for your form to be unsafe. I can't really explain exactly what safe is because different exercise, it's completely different movements and angles. But that's why when we do the online coaching, I have the online video tutorials for you to see. You can record them yourself and send them back to me if I don't see you. And we always perfect form before we go too heavy with any lifts. You're much better off starting light and staying light if your form is not good than risk getting injured, and it will put you back to square one and even lower if you injure yourself. Learning new exercises does take time, especially some exercises are very complicated. Kettlebell exercises aren't exactly easy. Most barbell exercises aren't too bad. Of course, the machines are nice and easy. Certain things I just don't bother doing with most clients, such as Olympic lifting. Nobody learns these exercises straight away. Even the ones that think they're fast learners, it just takes time, physical time putting in the practice, and you can see the form get better and better every session, and that's great to see. So the next topic is muscle fatigue and injuries. People are always complaining about muscle fatigue, and I get it. I mean, I trained legs 2 days ago and my legs are absolutely f***ed today. I'm glad I'm sitting down for this talk. Especially newbies. Newbies like to complain a lot. I've had people tell me, like we've done ab exercises or leg exercises. They've texted me the next day saying, Zaid, I've injured myself. I'm going to go to the doctor. I think I've broken something, or I don't feel right, or I can't stand up and things like that. And they're not used to it, so they don't understand the muscle fatigue. And if you haven't trained a certain muscle group in quite a long time for heavy lifting, your body will go quite crazy and it will ache for quite a long time. We're talking anything from 2 to 6, 7 days is not unusual, especially legs. Some muscle groups ache a lot more than others. So my advice for muscle fatigue is accept it. You can complain, that's fine, as long as you do understand that it happens to everyone. It's the normal part of building muscle. It's a normal part of the process. So just think of it as your body recovering. Your body needs time to recover better, faster, fitter, stronger, bigger. Your bodies won't always ache, and you'll slowly get used to it, but there always will be that element of fatigue if you're doing strength training especially. So your body will ache a lot more during strength training compared to fitness training or conditioning. Genetics is the next topic. It does play a role, but I don't want you to think that it does, and I don't want you to act like it does. There is very little, if any, research proving that genetics plays a major role in somebody's physical potential. As an extreme example, many people would argue that Usain Bolt's genetics are just amazing. You know, like if you or I was born with Usain Bolt's genetics, we'd be as fast as he is today. And in my opinion, that is absolute bullshit. And then many people will say, well, yeah, if I trained like Usain Bolt did now, I wouldn't be able to reach his potential. And I agree. If you started now, there's no way you'd be able to reach Usain Bolt's level. If you're starting now, assuming you're over 18, then you're already miles behind. The hours and the work rate and the preparation and the coaching that he's had in terms of time would run into the thousands of hours of just hard work from when he was a very young boy. You can argue that his genetics have played a part that may limit somebody else. For example, his height and leg length, and there may be a strong history of athletics in his family. But then you could also argue that where he grew up, he was culturally accepted as well as rewarded largely for being good at athletics, especially sprinting. So from a very young age, athletics has played a massive role in motivating and rewarding him, even if it was just social acceptance at first. Just as football is an extremely common sport in Brazil, doesn't mean that Brazilians are born with the genetics of good football players. It just means that they're shown the sport at such a young age, and socially that's what they talk about. Physically, that's what they do as an activity, as fun. Everybody knows footballers. So there's a massive intrinsic psychological motivation to strive for that. Generally speaking, if you want to reach an athletic level at anything, sprinting, long distance running, football, gymnastics, ideally you should be following coaching and a strict plan from a very young age. And I think if you asked any athlete if they think it's genetics that they're so good, they'll probably laugh in your face because you don't understand the work rate that they've put in to master their craft and the hours that they've put in. So overall, I think you should approach the whole genetics thing as bullshit, purely for what it will do for your mindset moving forward. Approaching it from that angle will do two things. It will get rid of a major excuse that will hold you back or mentally limit you, which would then physically limit you because you don't think that you're going to reach that potential, so therefore you're not going to try as hard. And two, it will allow you to see things in reality and work your arse off and aim for that progression, because now genetics is not an excuse that you're giving yourself. You're now saying that genetics is bullshit. I understand what my body has currently and where my levels are at now, and I'm just going to aim to progress it from there, and I'm going to track it with numbers that are trackable. You know, sprinting distance time, your 1 rep maxes for heavy lifting, how long you can run for. So something that you can track and you'll see progress. So genetics may play a role, but we're going to act like it doesn't. Now that we've gone from one angle, I'm just going to reverse it a little bit and talk about genetics and how some people are naturally built. I mean, this is the opposite of what I literally just explained. The next topic is body types. Genetics will play a natural role in your body type. So having had hundreds of clients, I can tell you that I've had every kind of body type client approach me. I have clients who are extremely lean, extremely skinny, and they eat everything in sight. Anything that's edible, they'll eat it. They'll have more than 4,000 calories a day, and their body weight just won't go up. In fact, their body fat will come down often. 4,000 plus calories a day, and their body fat is coming down. The muscle mass is either staying the same or increasing slightly. And if they're ill for a few days, or if they don't eat 4,000 calories for a few days, their muscle will quickly reduce again. So their body's very temperamental, and it reacts very quickly to the changes in diets and training. I have the clients in the middle, and they can do 2 weeks of good dieting and they'll start to see results already. Their body will change, the muscle will increase, body fat will come down. And if they leave it for 2 weeks, their body will change again. I have some people who just naturally very good retainers of muscle, and their body just holds on to a lot of muscle, doesn't hold on to too much fat. So when their calories are high, it's a lot more likely that they'll build muscle as opposed to put on fat. I've had clients who are slightly overweight, and we put them on a diet plan. They'll train 4, 5, 6 times a week, and their body fat just will not budge. Their body just doesn't want to release the fat. It's just not fucking coming off. And it's really frustrating for somebody to hear me say that it's not what you're physically doing. There's something going on inside that is affecting your body's ability to release fat. So yes, there are a bunch of different body types, definitely. Generally, the body type doesn't change, generally speaking. Maybe when you age, something slowed down. I personally haven't seen body types change from one to the other. Another important factor to definitely consider is your hormonal balance. It might be recommended to get some blood tests or a hormonal saliva test, and you can send off to get the results back and see if you're lacking any hormones. For example, there are hormones that help maintain muscle. There are hormones that help store fat, release fat, burn fat. There's hormones that help with absolutely everything. So it's definitely possible that if you find out what hormones are lacking, you can then take the steps necessary to help increase the amount of that hormone within your body and see what changes occur. So we're just going to quickly touch on steroids and bodybuilders and the whole fitness industry as a scene. What's important to remember is professional bodybuilders who hold, protein shakes, they're paid a shitload of money to tell you that this supplement got them these guns, these abs. I've got abs yet. And 99% of the time it's not accurate. I know a good amount of bodybuilders, and at least 90% of them have admitted taking steroids to me. Now, what are steroids? There's a few different types of steroids, and I'm only going to touch on this very briefly. One, because I don't recommend them. Two, because my knowledge in them is not great. So I don't want you to take everything that I say as factual, but I just want to quickly touch on them because some people do ask me. They essentially enhance the process of muscle building and recovery on kind of an extreme level. There's a massive argument that they claim that they're not healthy for you long term. Where my knowledge is at, I would definitely agree with that. For example, becoming a bodybuilder is linked to taking very powerful drugs that have been linked to organ failure and early death. So that is factual. Many powerful steroid drugs are linked to organ failure and early death. That is a fact. You can research that. So bodybuilders, not only do they take steroids, but they will also take other drugs that will affect them in the good ways physically and the bad ways in terms of their health. This is including insulin. I don't want to go too much into that either. And the whole issues that bodybuilders have, it kind of gets swept under the carpet. But feel free to do your own research and see the surgeries that many famous bodybuilders have had. They work their arse off, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from bodybuilders. Bodybuilders the gym that I work at, bodybuilders are the hardest working individuals. They are the hardest workers. The only people I can understand who take steroids is someone who is doing it for their professional career, because it's quite common that people's professional career affect their health. And if you look at every athlete, every footballer, their knees undergo a lot of stress, and by the time they get to their mid-50s, they do have knee issues and walking issues and hip issues. So from that standing point, bodybuilding is about looking the biggest and the best and the leanest and the most symmetrical, etc., etc. So if one person takes steroids and wins £500,000 for a competition, that raises the standards for everybody else in the industry. The last topic is training plans. Generally, I plan out my year in terms of activities or what I'm doing. So every January I go on holiday, and every May I go on holiday. I just plan to be my leanest around those months, which means 2 to 3 months before I have to start changing my diet around. The rest of the year, I'm just focusing on progressing for my lifts and my training side of it. So 2 times of the year, my priority is looks and my body fat, and then the rest of the year, it's mainly about my training and the numbers that I'm hitting and what I can do. Now, regardless of what it is that you want to achieve, I would definitely recommend that you have some sort of plan to follow, whether it's a personalized plan for me or a general plan for myself, or you just create your own plan. Then I would definitely recommend it for a few reasons. It means that you're not going to miss out anything, so everything is structured. It's quite common for people to train what they enjoy training, but 6 months down the line, you've heavily neglected certain muscle groups. For example, it's very important when you're doing strength training to train opposite muscle groups. If you're training your chest will tighten up, leaving you with poor upper back posture. As long as you're training your back equally, everything can stay nice and right and help your posture. Many people should train their back more than their chest actually, because of their everyday occupation that affects their posture. So it's important. Also, it's important to vary your plans and vary your training. So myself and my clients, every 4 weeks I send them a new plan. It's similar exercises, but a lot of variation involved, just to keep things new, to keep their body being shocked with new movements from new angles. That way they're a lot less likely to plateau. Also, mentally, a new plan is a fresh start. It keeps motivation levels high, as opposed to getting very bored with the same old plan for a 6-month period and feeling more likely to stop training. In conclusion, know exactly what you want first. That's the basis of everything. Know your priority, your current priority goal. So now that you've got your goal in mind, follow my personalized plan or a plan that you've created for yourself. Learn the correct form and prioritize the correct form over ego lifting. Genetics does play a role, but don't think that it does, and don't let that affect your training or your work rate at all. Find what works for you, even if it means getting certain tests done, hormonal or blood tests. Think long term for your overall health, always. And finally, just be committed. If you're going to do something, just decide. Don't be half-hearted. Just give it your absolute everything. Enjoy. I'd like to finish by saying good luck to you, but if you've watched all of these videos, you'll now understand that your results are not based on luck, just commitment and hard work.